Run It Studios is the home of the Run Radio podcast and runradio.net, a podcast and station about the relentless, resilient, and innovative types, inspiring strides in life, business, and beyond. Welcome back to the Run Radio podcast. I'm Trina Wilcox, and my guest today is Alexandra Miles with Project Blackbird. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Trina.
Yeah, I'm glad to learn more about this project. I'm very curious because I know it surrounds the conversation of mental wellness. So tell me how this all got started and the evolution of it.
So I started the organization back in 2022, but it started, I suppose, long before that. The organization, as I think many nonprofit founders, they start something because there's an issue that means a lot to them. And this one in particular meant a lot to me originally because I had experienced a mental health struggle, of course. So back in 2018, I was diagnosed with anorexia. I lived in Los Angeles at the time, and I went to a treatment center where I met a young woman who was very different than I was. She came from a different community, a different background. She looked different. She acted different. She had different traumas, even a different diagnosis. But we connected very deeply, and we realized that one thing that we both had in common was we both had experienced a lot of shame and silence around the eating disorders that we were diagnosed with, that we suffered from, and then around mental health in general. In both of our worlds, with our family, with our friends, it wasn't okay to not be okay. And we realized that a lot of other individuals had the same experience from various different communities and backgrounds. And so first, I was a filmmaker at the time. I am an actor and a filmmaker still. And so I created a film that was about these two young women who meet at an eating disorder treatment center. Now, it's not a documentary, it's a narrative. And then after I created the film, somebody actually asked me why I created it. And I realized that it really wasn't to win awards at film festivals. It wasn't to be this big splashy film. It was to allow someone to see themselves in these characters, to allow someone to empathize with what goes on behind an eating disorder or a mental health struggle in general. And so that was kind of the birth of Project Blackbird, was how do we use this film to actually impact individuals? And then little bits and pieces of the organization came afterwards. So what the organization became then is a touring event that goes to different college campuses, different high schools, and different underprivileged communities, underserved communities. And we address the realities behind mental health, that it impacts every single individual. Everybody struggles with something. We aim to destigmatize that conversation by screening the film. We host a panel with both the original Blackbird, myself, and then one public figure guest speaker. We've had NFL players, we've had actors, singers, artists, but a role model of sorts. We all just talk about shame and silence and how we've experienced struggle ourselves. And then ultimately we have a resource fair in the back of the room of local, national, college campus resources for our students. And then we pay for free therapy for a year for every student in that audience. Oh, wow. Just to get them started on that journey, because we know that it's difficult to step into that, especially when there's a cost added to it.
So where did the name come from then?
So Blackbird was what we called the young Kendra Williams in treatment. She was very silent and has a tattoo of a blackbird. And so that was kind of what created the idea of this film, was almost this she was almost a hidden hero for me in treatment. She was very quiet. She didn't speak a word to anyone. I was very outspoken. I spoke too much to everybody, both of which were ways for us to really deflect from our own pain. But at the time, she was almost magic to me because I could see how much was behind the eyes. But all that was speaking to me were her eyes. And so I had to kind of read from that. And so we gave the nickname Blackbird because this character who is representing Kendra Williams from treatment, this character does not speak in our short film.
Okay, cool. How do you see that the influence and conversations around mental health have changed in the past, even couple of years since you started this?
Yes. I'm really hopeful with where our conversations are going. one thing that I've seen is that many of our audience members from every community are very receptive to this. And I've been incredibly pleasantly surprised at how well received this has been, because it's really difficult. I mean, this is real. It's not, we have celebrities, of course, come to the stage, but it's not fun and games. This is so deeply real to so many individuals that are experiencing this in the audience. And I have had a lot of the young people in the audience come up to me afterwards and just be very, very honest and vocal about this and supportive. And I'll say, when I tell strangers about this, I have not had a single stranger not relate to something that I've spoken about. And that's been amazing to me, that the world is finally starting to open up a little bit. It just takes somebody being vulnerable about it first, creating that safe space to say, okay, now I can come out and talk about it too. And the other piece, I have a couple of sisters actually, who have sisters who are much younger than me, and they're just entering the college space right now. And from what I hear from them, the youth is really starting to accept and talk about it with each other. And I think that is going to make a huge impact when they start to have children, how they address mental health in front of their children, and promote, speaking about it.
Yeah, I'm glad because it seems like we're taught at an early age to eat well, take care of our bodies, exercise, move, but somewhere along the lines we weren't taught to take care of our minds
Yeah.
and understand it and understand our feelings. And I hope that is starting to, present in schools even at a
Yeah.
young age because, you know, it's so important during those formative years.
Yeah. And I think, to your point too, we're taught all of these rules, so to speak. This is
Yeah.
how you are healthy. This is how, you take care of yourself. But I think we're also hopefully learning as a society to balance that with, okay, I've heard this message from this message from this person, but these adults have also let me know that they're not perfect either. So I'm allowed to take in all the messages that I receive. I'm allowed to assess what feels right for me, what feels good. I'm allowed to check in with my body. How does that feel? Mom told me so and so was healthy for me, but it kind of makes my tummy hurt. And I know that mom is her own person and mom makes mistakes too. So, mom, I actually don't think that makes me feel good. I don't really want that. Maybe we can just start
Yeah.
to be more in tune with our own bodies, and not be combative, but just respect ourselves and not see others as higher than or lower than us, just others as other
Yeah.
humans.
Yeah. So you started with the film and then the nonprofit developed. So what does the nonprofit do?
Yes. So, as I briefly explained, it's a touring program that goes to different college campuses, and then visits different communities and adults and companies as well. Um, our ultimate our ultimate gift, that year of free therapy, that is right now what I am really, really um, driving funding, because what I realized was this program was really connecting with a lot of students. It is special. It's special because you're in this, you're in the moment, and you connect in real time with not only the people around you in the room, but we also do a journal activity. It's all anonymous. We have our students and our audience members fill out on the spot one thing that they struggle with, and then a message of hope to both themselves and a future Project Blackbird participant, all anonymous. And as they exit the room into that resource fair that I mentioned, they have the opportunity to leave their response behind and to take home a real response from a prior participant. And I think that's my favorite part of the event personally, because you feel this magic in the room of these kids and adults reading real journal responses from individuals. You see in real time that everybody struggles with something, and you also see the impact you're having. I have the blessing to read all of these responses, so I know that students are opening up. I know that there are individuals that are really finding something in this audience. But then I realized, okay, if I'm opening up this can of worms, I can't let these students, these adults, just walk out of the room and live their lives like yesterday, because something has now changed. They've now been able to address something that might be deeply hurting. So how can I just help a little bit? I can at least get them started on that journey, provide that therapy for a year so that they can figure out what they might need next. So that's kind of, that's what we do. And we build a different conversation and a different panel at every school we visit. So like I mentioned, whether it's an athlete or an actor, it could even just be an expert clinician in the field. But the idea behind that is I really want these audience members to look at the stage and see myself and Kendra Williams so that they know, okay, those two characters on a screen, that's somebody's real life. That's a real story. We want to speak authentically and connect with them, but we also want to speak with their heroes. And we want them to hear their heroes saying, I am just like you. I am human and I struggle, and that's okay because it's a part of being human. And so that's the program that we take around.
What makes you know that it's working?
One, the journal prompts. Like I mentioned, I have the opportunity to read every single one, and I do. I read and vet personally every single journal prompt before distributing because, we want to make sure, one, that they're appropriate, of course, for these students. But two, that's really what keeps me going personally. When this gets really hard, I look at a journal prompt and I remember that this is somebody's life, and I see in real time how it's impacting. But also I get emails all the time. I have students in the back of the room, adults in the back of the room. We've gone to many churches, many other faith-based institutions and organizations, and there are a lot of adults in that space too that are coming up to me in the back of the room and quite literally saying the words, I have never said this out loud to any person before, and telling me, what they struggle with. And people will chat for hours, and sometimes I have to kind of step, I have to say, okay, we really do, we have to go, but I want to get you the help and the support. But I mean, these people are longing for a lifeline. And we're bringing it to them. Honestly, I can feel it, and it's not easy. It isn't easy for us, but it's incredibly fulfilling, and especially when we get that honest feedback from individuals, whether it's in person or email. We love hearing how it's helping.
Well, I do want to talk about where people can maybe potentially meet up with you, but what if someone's not able to be at one of your events or anything like that, but they are struggling or know someone who is?
Yeah. So one, on our website, we do have a number of resources that I highly, highly recommend. These are resources that we have very carefully looked into and very carefully chosen. So wonderful resources in that space. Please email me. My email is on the website. We want to do everything that we can. If you're unable to attend an event but really need that therapy, we're going to find a way to get it to you. So please send me an email, and we'll work something out. But another thing that you can do, if you reach out via email, if you are a college student, let us know that you want us to come to your campus. If you can connect us with anybody, it can be a club on campus. It can be your school, whether it's the School of Public Health, business school, communications. Anybody can bring this event on. Student affairs, res life. We have done orientation spaces. So really anybody from the school that you can connect us with, if you would like us to come to your school, we will do everything in our power to be there in person for you, because there is so much power to seeing, experiencing this in person. But if that's not possible, we will find a way to help out on the therapy side and help in that space.
Where are some of the places you're going next on your tour?
So next up, our next two are, we have Oklahoma City. We have a school, Metro Tech, that we're going to be visiting, and the community event as well with the Dead Center Film Festival there. We are actually presenting with the UN for a UN assembly up in New York at the end of this month. We are going to Toronto International Film Festival. We're going to be presenting in, I think it's 2 days from now, 2 or 3 days from now, that we're very excited about. And then we're going to Jacksonville University. We're going to be addressing a little bit of the community there, but really that's a big university event. And then we have a couple of exciting athlete events happening down in Texas. So, and then it goes from there. So we are ramping up for a big fall this year, and we're still able to add a few more, I think, in the late October, November space. So if anybody's listening to this from a school space and wants to bring us on, please contact us. We're still adding a couple more on our tour for the fall.
Yeah, very good. That's exciting. I know that your demographic is typically college age students, but have you noticed, older people finally getting in touch with their mental wellness and kind of finally feeling like they want to talk about things?
Absolutely. I think it's challenging with that generation because the stigma is even more ingrained. Um, it is really, really scary and not as safe for a lot of adults to speak about mental health, especially when they've been born and raised to to keep it down, to shut it down, keep it inside the household, keep it in. But I think it's an incredibly important space, and ultimately, I mean, reaching the adults to impact how they speak to their children. These parents have the most influence on their kids. So to change a mindset there, I think is so powerful. So yes, I mean, this is an event. It's an event for everybody. It's not just for students. I think just um, in terms of kind of helping to make change right at the precipice where some of these mental health struggles start to develop a little bit more deeply. That space is in high schoolers, college students, even younger than high schoolers, unfortunately. But that's an area where we feel that we can have the most impact by visiting these big college campuses. But by all means, adults are an important audience for this. So when
Just
we
from just from your experience, what would you recommend someone be doing to maybe focus a little more and pay kind of focus that lens a little bit better so they're understanding themselves a little more to realize this is normal and I've got it, or this is normal and maybe I need to talk to somebody?
mm. My answer to that is always one, trauma, pain, experiences, none of that, they're not comparable. Two, an eating disorder or a mental health struggle does not look like the textbook version. We learn about this in maybe high school, middle school. That's not what it looks like in real life. And it looks different for every individual. It looks different on your body. It looks different with your behaviors. There are, of course, some similarities, but it always looks different. So my recommendation would be if it is if it is causing you distress in any way, if you can't stop thinking about food and that's distressing, if your relationship with food is causing you to miss out on social events with family, with friends, if it's taking up space in your brain that you don't want it to take up, or addiction, if that's taking up space in your brain, if you feel like it has some power over you, if you feel that there is a struggle that you don't want or a distress that you don't want, that's then time to talk about it. At the very least, find a therapist, process it, talk about it. You might not have to go to treatment. Not it doesn't look the same for everybody, but I think why not? Why not take that opportunity to make a change if it's something that doesn't feel good to you?
I think you said some very important things. Don't compare yourself to someone else. I think that's, and if it's taking up that space, then just talk to somebody. It does look different from for everyone. I'm glad you said that because we get in this headspace or we get on the internet and think, oh, it's got to match, tick all these boxes and everything. And that's not what it's like.
Yeah, yeah, and I find that so many so many people too, because it's not what it looks like in a textbook, it's so easy to convince yourself that can't be me. That's not, I'm not struggling with that, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
And the answer is if you really connect with yourself and ask yourself, if you're fine or if you're not, if you're present, if you're enjoying those little moments or if you're starting to disconnect from them. And so lean into that and feel, am I really living the best in each moment of my life that I can be, that is realistic for me? And if the answer is no, then, then have a chat.
Yeah. Very good. I love what you're doing. Thank you for coming on here and sharing
Yeah.
about it. Tell people again where they can go to find out more, all the information.
Yeah, so our website, www.projectblackbirdinc.org. If you visit our website, we have we have information about the organization, about the tour. There are different ways to support. One, of course, as a nonprofit, we do love if somebody is willing and able to donate and support in that manner. $30 goes to that first therapy session for one of those students that I mentioned in the audience. If you can, if you have the means for $30 a month, that will cover them for an entire year. That will get them started on their journey. But if financially is not a way that you are able to support, there are so many ways to support this mission, this organization. Bring this to a college campus that you're, or a high school that you're connected with. Help connect us with them. If you know or are someone that is a public figure that would like to share their voice on this, we are always working with new speakers, new panelists to share their voice. Even if it's just feedback for us, every single day we are growing this organization. So shoot me an email, just contact us. We would love to hear from you. We would love any support.
Appreciate it so much. Thank you very much, Alexandra Miles with Project Blackbird. You can find all of our videos, link over to whichever platform you prefer to watch or listen from runradio.net. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Trina.